And in this case, Brussels sprouts and cabbage. So yesterday we saw a 1-pan meal for Brussels sprouts. We're going to see another recipe for Brussels sprouts. And tomorrow we're going to see a cabbage recipe. So I'll get a little later to explain how you can actually get one of these tools. But before I do that, the main event for today is a recipe demonstration of our Brussels sprouts gratin. That is going to be done by Kristi, who is our FCS agent in Warren County. And so she's going to talk through what's in that recipe. She's going to demonstrate some of the skills, techniques that you need in order to prepare this recipe. And with that, Kristi, I'm going to turn it over to you.
We were joking around about how if you say gratin or gratin, it's kind of like tomato. We all say it a little bit differently, but I think that no matter how you pronounce it, your guests are going to really enjoy this dish. So many of us are used to potato gratin, and that's where we have thinly sliced potatoes in a dish and then a rich creamy sauce on top. So today we are actually going to do a lighter version of that savory dish. So we'll get started. Our recipe tells us that we are going to start off with 2 pounds of Brussels sprouts. So that's about 2 cups. Now, when selecting your Brussels sprouts, you really want to look for firm sprouts. You don't want them to be too mushy, and you want them to be very similar in size. So our recipe tells us that we are going to wash our Brussels sprouts. Now, the best way is to soak your sprouts for about 10 minutes in water and then rinse them with fresh water. Then what you want to do is you want to remove the outer leaves of your sprouts. Typically, this is where any blemish might be. And when selecting your sprouts, you want to make sure that you choose ones that have as few blemishes as possible, but there probably is going to be some, and that's okay. Once you remove the outer leaves, it tells us that we are going to score the core end of our sprout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove just a little bit of the core end, not all of it, because I want to leave that core on so it helps keep my sprout intact. So then we're going to score the core end. And basically what that means is we are just going to take a paring knife and we're going to make an X. So it's very easy. And what scoring does is it allows the heat to penetrate the core so that the sprout cooks evenly. Now, some recipes have us are half our Brussels sprouts, but this recipe has us leave them whole. So scoring is going to make sure that the sprout is getting cooked and tender throughout the whole sprout. So once you do that to all of your Brussels sprouts, you're going to boil them on medium to high heat for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then it tells us to set them aside. Now for today, I went on and did a little prep. I went on and sprayed a 9x13 dish with some cooking spray, and I went on and added my Brussels sprouts. So you can see that boiling them brought that nice, beautiful green color, and I am just going to set this aside. Next, our recipe tells us to cook 6 slices of turkey bacon. I've already done that. And turkey bacon is leaner than pork bacon, so there's going to be fewer calories and fewer fat. So another way that this dish is a little bit lighter. Then we diced 2 medium-sized tomatoes and we cooked them until tender. And our recipe also tells us to set those aside. And these are going to be added into our cream sauce later. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but you want to make sure that your oven is preheated to 400 degrees. So it's nice and ready for us to pop our dish in at the end. All right, next, after we've cooked our onion and we cooked our turkey bacon, we are going to create our cream sauce. Now, that is what really makes this dish what it is. And I'm going to turn my camera a little bit closer to my pan so you can see. Now, our recipe tells us to start off with 3 tablespoons of butter. So I'm going to go on and add that to my skillet. And you're going to start off with a medium to high heat. You may need to turn up that heat in a little bit. And next we're going to add 3 tablespoons of flour. Now we're actually technically making a roux. Don't let that intimidate you, but a roux is when flour and fat are cooked together and used to thicken sauces. So the flour and the butter is going to help thicken our cream sauce. Now, a traditional cream sauce in a gratin or gratin typically uses heavy cream. And while that is so delicious, we are sticking with skim milk for this recipe. So that is going to be lighter for us. Now I'm going to turn my heat down just a little bit. Butter can burn pretty quickly. And the great thing about this dish is that it does have a vegetable. Now, I think Brussels sprouts are a vegetable that a lot of people stray away from, but I have actually learned to love Brussels sprouts within the past 3 years. So I was really excited when I was asked to do this recipe today because I am a big advocate for Brussels sprouts. If you cook them the right way, they are delicious. So my butter is melted. I'm going to go on and add my 3 tablespoons of flour. And you just want to stir this together until it's nice and creamy. Now you do want to work kind of fast because this can burn pretty quickly, but you just want to make sure that your butter and your flour gets nice and blended until it's smooth. And I'll try to make it so you all can see. So I told you we're going to add skim milk. Now our recipe calls for 1.5 cups of skim milk and a 1/2 cup of a low sodium chicken broth. Now it tells us to add that slowly and to whisk while we're doing so. So I'm not going to pour it all in at once, but I am just going to pour it in slowly. And once it all gets nice and incorporated, I'm going to make sure that you all can see. Now, during this part, I am going to turn up my heat just a little bit. That heat is going to help thicken it. Now, a 1/2 cup of my chicken broth, but again, I'm not going to add it all in at once. So I mentioned that Brussels sprouts are very good for us and a vegetable that most people, well, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people I know do not love Brussels sprouts. My favorite way to prepare Brussels sprouts are to roast them until they're a little bit crispy. That's my #1 way to eat Brussels sprouts, but I have to say, this is probably my second favorite way to eat Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts provide vitamin K, folate, potassium, and even some vitamin K. When you roast them in the oven, it really brings out such a wonderful flavor. All right, so now my sauce is thickening up. I find that if I can turn up the heat until I start seeing it boiling, that's whenever I really see it thickening. And it is, but you don't want to get it too thick because it will thicken up once it's in the oven. Now, once your sauce is starting to get thick and smooth, we are going to add our shredded Parmesan cheese. Our recipe calls for 1 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. And again, that's just going to infuse the flavors even more. We've got some salt and pepper here. Our recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper. And now this is when we are going to add the turkey bacon that we cooked and the onions. I don't know if I'm hoping you all can see it. It smells so good. I was practicing this yesterday, and my coworkers in the office came in and they said, "It smells so good." And I said, "Great, you have to try it." Well, I'm going to tell you, some of them would not try it because it had Brussels sprouts. But let me tell you, it infused the whole office with this amazing smell of the bacon and the onions. And the ones who did try it, they loved it. So if you have a picky eater in your family, or maybe you are a picky eater yourself, whenever you do something different with a vegetable, I really think that that's a good way to introduce something new. We all have those foods that we're a little bit leery of, and Brussels sprouts used to be that for me. And thankfully, I gave them a try, and this recipe is, like I said, it's my number 2 favorite way to eat Brussels sprouts. All righty, so my cream sauce has set up nicely, and I am now going to pull over my dish with my Brussels sprouts. And I don't know if I told you all, but we do want to make sure that we spray this because we don't want there to be too much of this sauce sticking to the bottom, because that is what is really the showstopper of this. And we want to make sure that it gets nice and coated over our Brussels sprouts. Now, once you get the sauce over the Brussels sprouts, you may have to spread it just a little bit. And just go on and spread it. And so now you are going to pop this into your oven for about 25 minutes or until the top is golden brown. I am going to show you guys a close-up of this. And it smells so good. I always wish that I could send the smell through the screen. That is the only sad thing about doing virtual cooking during this time. But I am going to pop this into my oven for 25 minutes, and we are going to have a little snack. All right, Heather, I think I am done for today, but if anyone has questions, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kristi. I've pulled up that recipe again, just if you wanted to take a quick picture. You can obviously get this recipe on our website, which I'll talk about in a second, as well as in this meal plan that we're featuring this week. But if you wanted to take a quick picture, you could see quickly the ingredients. And I think one of the awesome things about this recipe is that there's a lot of versatility to it. So I was just thinking, you could use whatever milk you have on hand, or you could throw in other vegetables that you may have, or if you don't have chicken stock, maybe you have vegetable stock, or vice versa. So really, this just gives you a good base in order to build a recipe that, like Kristi mentioned, it's a fun way. It's fun to eat vegetables in different ways. And this one certainly looks very delicious. I haven't tried this one personally, but I know that I will be. Now, how do we actually get a meal plan. It is very simple. We just encourage you to reach out to your local extension office and ask your FCS agent or your Family Consumer Science agent for a plated up Kentucky Proud meal plan that features Brussels sprouts and cabbage. And simply all you got to do is just start preparing those recipes. They could either mail it to you if that's more convenient, or if you want to swing by and pick that up, that is also an option as well. If you're uncertain who your FCS agent is or how to contact your county extension office, I encourage you to visit the website extension.ca.uky.edu. There you'll find a county directory where you can find all of the contact information for all of the extension agents that you have right there in your county. If you want to, go ahead and get some questions into the chat box or into the comment section as we kind of wrap up today. But I do want to remind you that we have one more food demonstration this week, and that is tomorrow, same time and place. So you can join us on our FCS Extension Facebook page or on Zoom if you would prefer to have an interpreter. And that'll be at 11 a.m., 10 a.m. Central Time. And we are going to get to see a very hearty comfort meal. It's our cabbage noodle casserole, which I have had and is also very good. And that's going to be done by Leslie Workman, our FCS agent in Pike County. So yesterday we were in Western Kentucky, today we were in Bowling Green, and then we're going to move to the eastern side of the state tomorrow for our last and final recipe demonstration of the week. So just as a reminder, we'd love for you to stay connected with us. And so the recipe that you saw today is one of over 140 that we have, and you have access to all of those if you visit our website, which is platedup.ca.uky.edu. You can like us and follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. And then if you visit YouTube, which I don't have on this slide, but we have a YouTube channel. So if you simply search Plated Up Kentucky Proud, you'll see all kinds of videos with different recipe demonstrations as well. So with that, Mindy, I'd like to see if we have any questions that either myself or Kristi could address.
So, Kristi, I saw that we had a question about the extra milk, and Kristi has addressed that she had some extra milk, and so she didn't need to add all of that was there. And then Wayne has asked if this is something that we do every week. This is just this week. We do have some that we did back in the summer, in September and October. August and September. And so we do have videos of those on the FCS YouTube page if you want to go back and watch those. And then someone asked on the FCS Facebook Live where to post pictures. And so you can post the pictures actually in the feed below the videos. I have adjusted the settings, so you should be able to post pictures in the feed below those videos for each day's recipe. So feel free to post your pictures there. We'd love to see what you have put together. And I also did post the recipe link in Facebook Live, and also I just posted it here in the chat on Zoom as well.
And the last thing that I'll add is, we would love for you all to reach out to receive one of these meal plans, but your extension office also has numerous recipe cards for several Plated Up Kentucky Proud recipes. So feel free to reach out to them if you're interested in receiving recipe cards for different produce that's grown here in Kentucky. Anything else, Mindy? Are we all good?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions. Rebecca loves Brussels sprouts. I think we have lots of Brussels sprouts lovers as well. I have to say that when I was growing up, Brussels sprouts and cabbage were not my favorites, but I have learned to love them as an adult. So I think that that's probably lots of people have had that experience.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much to everyone who has joined us. Feel free to post pictures, reach out if you'd like any other resources. We're so glad that you joined us today, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow for our final food demonstration.